The night air was thick with the scent of rain and exhaust fumes when a tired young man stood beneath a flickering streetlight, clutching a small bucket of roses. His fingers were cracked from the cold, his shoes soaked from the puddles, and his eyes carried that quiet exhaustion only those who've been fighting life for too long ever truly know. The city rushed around him, bright cars, expensive suits, laughter spilling out of glass buildings, but no one noticed him. He raised a single red rose toward a passing couple and said softly, "Buy one, please? Just one rose for someone you love." They brushed past him without a glance, and that was the moment a sleek black car rolled to a stop beside him. The tinted window slid down, revealing a man in his 40s, dressed immaculately in a tailored navy suit. His wristwatch alone could have bought everything in that street twice over. He looked at the boy with the faintest smirk and said, "Sell me those roses in Arabic, and I'll pay you $100,000. The boy blinked, unsure if he'd heard correctly. The man leaned closer, his tone laced with mockery. "Come on, impress me. You look smart enough. Or are you just standing here pretending to work?" The boy swallowed, holding the roses tighter. He didn't understand the man's challenge, whether it was cruelty, a joke, or some twisted test, but something inside him stirred. He looked into the man's eyes, and though his heart was racing, his voice came out steady. "I can't sell them in Arabic," he said quietly. "But I can tell you what they mean in any language you want." The man's grin faded slightly. The boy continued, "These roses are for people who forgot how to say I'm sorry. For people who wish they had one more chance to tell someone they love them. They're not just flowers, they're forgiveness wrapped in petals." The silence between them grew heavy. Then, the man chuckled, a cold, condescending sound, and tossed a $100 bill out of the window before the car sped away, leaving the boy staring at the crumpled note in the puddle. The light turned red again, and the noise of the city returned as if nothing had happened. But the story didn't end there. The next morning, the same man, his name was Malik Rahman, a self-made millionaire, sat in his corner office, staring out at the skyline. He couldn't shake the boy's words. They echoed in his mind louder than any business deal, any congratulatory phone call, any applause he'd ever received. Their forgiveness wrapped in petals. He laughed it off, tried to bury himself in meetings, but something inside him was shifting, cracking open. Later that day, he told his assistant to cancel all appointments. He drove back to the same street where he had met the boy, but the corner was empty. The boy, the roses, the small blue bucket, gone. Over the following days, Malik found himself returning again and again, each time searching. It wasn't guilt, exactly, it was something deeper, a sense that he had been tested by life itself and had failed. And in failing, he realized how hollow everything else had become. The cars, the house, the power, all of it meant nothing. He had built an empire but forgotten how to be kind. Weeks later, fate brought them together again in the unlikeliest way. Malik had stopped at a small flower stall on the outskirts of town, a stall newly set up by a boy whose face he recognized immediately. He stood silently for a moment, then approached. The boy looked up, startled, but didn't speak. "I came to buy those roses," Malik said quietly. "But this time, I'll pay whatever they're worth." The boy's expression softened slightly. "They're worth whatever your heart feels," he replied. Malik hesitated, looking down at the roses, fresh, simple, beautiful. He reached for his wallet but stopped. "Do you know why I mocked you that night?" he asked. The boy shook his head. "Because I saw myself in you? Years ago, I was just like you, standing in the cold, trying to sell something no one wanted. I thought that once I made it, I'd never be that boy again. But that night, when I saw you, I realized I still am. Just richer and lonelier." For the first time in years, Malik felt his throat tighten. His voice trembled as he said, "Teach me again what those roses mean." The boy smiled gently, picking up a rose. "They mean it's never too late to remember where you came from, and who you still could be." Malik took the rose and nodded. "And in Arabic?" The boy said softly. "Roses are not sold, they are gifted with a pure heart." That single sentence cut through him like truth itself. Malik opened his wallet, not to pay, but to hand the boy a folded check. The boy hesitated before reading it, his eyes widened when he saw the amount. "Sir, this is $100,000. Malik smiled faintly. "It's not for the roses. It's for the lesson." Tears glistened in the boy's eyes. "Why would you do this?" Malik looked up at the fading sunlight. "Because sometimes, you have to buy back your own humanity. And you reminded me what it's worth." The boy tried to speak, but no words came. Malik turned to leave, his steps heavy yet lighter than they'd been in years. Before driving away, he looked back once and said, "Keep selling them. The world needs more roses, and more people like you." As the car disappeared into the horizon, the boy stood under the same flickering streetlight, the same cold air wrapping around him. But this time, it wasn't loneliness he felt, it was hope. He looked down at the single rose left in his hand and whispered, "For every soul that forgot how to feel, may they find their way back." And somewhere in the city skyline, a man who once mocked a boy selling roses finally smiled, not the smile of a millionaire, but of a man who had learned how to be human again.